Do you guys remember everything I taught you about trigonometry? Right, well that was under the assumption that you had a calculator. So now throw away your calculator in the bin. Because by the end of this video, you should be able to derive the set values for sine, cos, and tan. And you should also use the trigonometric graphs to find the angles at the certain points. Mainly for 0 and 90, but we'll get to that in a second. So these are the values for sine, cosine, and tan that you're going to need to know. From 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90. Let's start with 0 and 90. Do you guys remember these? Well, from these, we can figure out what 0 and 90 are, can't we? So at sine, you can see that it's 0. At cos, you can see that it starts at 1. And at tan, you see that it starts at 0. So we can put that on straight away. Now let's look at 90 degrees. At sine, you can see that it's 1. At cosine, you can see that it's 0. And at tan, you can see that it is asymptotal, that you can see that it's an asymptote, right? So in this case, it's actually just going to be not applicable, okay? Now, notice sine and cos, right? Notice how they do not exceed 1. That is because sine and cos can never exceed 1. So you cannot, there's no value where sine x is equal to 3, for example. It just doesn't exist. For tan, yes, but for sine and cos, no. So we've already tackled 6 of the 15 values that we need to learn off by heart. So now let's derive the others. The others can be derived from 2 triangles. The first is an isosceles triangle with a unit width. And if it has a unit width, that means that these are also 45 degrees. And this is a right angle, okay? So what is this length here going to be? Well, from Pythagoras, we've known that 1 squared plus 1 squared is equal to 2. So therefore, this is just going to be root 2. And now let's look at this, right? We have an opposite, we have a hypotenuse, and we have an adjacent. So sine 45 is just going to be equal to 1 over root 2. Cos 45 is just going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, which is just, again, 1 over root 2. And finally, tan 45 is once again equal to opposite over hypotenuse, over adjacent, excuse me, which is 1 divided by 1, which is 1. Okay, so that's 45 done. Now, let's focus on 60 and 30. So we need another triangle which is equilateral. And if it's equilateral, then this is 60, this is 60, and this is also 60. Now we need all of the lengths to equal 2. You can make them equal 1, it's just a little bit easier if they're equal to 2. Because we're going to split the triangle in half. If we split the triangle in half, right, this is now 30, okay? And now this is 1. So then what's this side here going to be? Well, this side here, if I call it the opposite, O squared is equal to 2 squared minus 1 squared. which is equal to 3. So O is equal to root 3. Yeah? Now let's take a look at this 60 degrees over here. Sine 60 is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, which is root 3 over 2. Let's write that down. Cos 60 is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Our adjacent is 1. Our hypotenuse is 2. So we're left with a half. And finally, tan 60 is equal to, our opposite is root 3. Our adjacent is 1. So therefore it's just root 3 over 1, which is simply equal to root 3. Yeah? So now we've done 60. But what about this 30 that's over here? I'm going to do this in a different color. So now let's pay attention to this 30. Now this is the opposite. This is still the hypotenuse, okay? But this is now the adjacent. So sine 30 is equal to, our opposite is root 3. No, now it's 1. And it's over 2, which is our hypotenuse. So sine 30 is equal to a half. Our cos 30 is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, which is simply equal to root 3 over 2. Let's write that down. And finally, our tan 30 is equal to our opposite over adjacent, which is just 1 over root 3. And that's the table that you need to learn when you have trigonometric questions and you're not allowed to use a calculator. Okay? Take a moment, write this down. I'm stalling you out so that this is the thumbnail. These are the ones that you need to learn. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video made sense. If you guys liked it, consider subscribing. It helps out the channel a lot. Join my Discord server if you have any questions or comments. And drop me an email if you need to be tutored for a meeting and a quote. Keep on learning, as you have no idea what you're capable of doing.